This has Mavericks fans buzzing, and it's about that time that we have this conversation, as we had a similar conversation around this time last year surrounding who's going to be our starting center, Daniel Gafford or Dereck Lively. And 2 seasons ago, when we made that infamous push to the finals, a lot of Mavericks fans were excited for Dereck Lively and his growth and development. As a rookie, he played an integral part in this Dallas Mavericks team push all season long, even into the playoffs that led us to the finals, and a lot of people were excited to see where he could go from there, while other fans knew that Daniel Gafford is already a solidified center in the league, and what he was able to do for the team right away blew fans away. But after last year, with all the injuries, guys missing time, we really didn't get to see who should be our long-term starting center, as they both shared that role. But in this upcoming season, now that we have Cooper flagged, but we don't have Kyrie for the majority of the season, certain players' roles are going to change. And next season, we will have to see who will be our full-time starting center, Dereck Lively or Daniel Gafford. So in this video, we're going to take a look at both players, see what they both bring to the Mavs, their strengths, their weaknesses, and who I think should be our starting center. But how's it going, everybody? This is Marcel Martin. This is Mavs Digest, bringing you the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before we get started with today's video, 46.1% of you guys watching are not subscribed. I don't know what you guys are doing all summer long. I hope you're being safe, drinking water, and having fun. I know school's starting up for a few of you guys, so if you want to be up to date on Mavericks-related content all year long, all season long, make sure you subscribe. But the Dallas Mavericks have a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem that we have yet to find the answer to. A temporary answer, but not a long-term answer. And that question is, who is going to be our starting center? And last year, it really didn't matter who it was, and a lot of fans would also agree it doesn't matter who's our starting center. It's more so important who's going to close these games alongside Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag, Kyrie when he returns, and obviously PJ Washington or Najee Marshall, as those are our regular players to close out games. But last season, with all the injuries, the trades, guys in and out the lineup, it was really hard to solidify who should or who will be that starting center. But with guys getting back from injury, getting back from surgery, fully recovering, getting ready for the upcoming season, the question still remains on who is going to be our starting center. And earlier today, I asked the Twitterverse a simple question: who on the bench are you most excited to see play this upcoming season? And I had listed Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Brandon Williams, and Dereck Lively. I myself am very, very excited to see all of the guys play, every single one of them, even Dwight Powell. I'm excited to see him cheer his team on the sidelines. But in this little survey, I'm very excited to see Najee Marshall. He's been putting out a lot of good footage and film of what he's been doing all summer long. It feels like he's never taken a day off. But a lot of people in the comments pointed out that Dereck Lively's a starter. He's not coming off the bench. And it made me really think, because obviously last year with all the injuries, Dereck Lively didn't play that many games, and we had to rely heavily on Daniel Gafford. And as we all know, when Dereck Lively went down with injury, Daniel Gafford really stepped up. He looked like one of the league's best centers for the Dallas Mavericks as we were battling injuries, not only with Dereck Lively, but Najee Marshall with his illness. Luka Doncic, before the trade, he was out. Daniel Gafford held it down, and he did his job. Ultimately, he did get injured, so our big man situation was just all over the place last year. But in this upcoming season, we have a chance, hopefully, health willing, to see who truly does deserve that long-term starting role instead of just sharing minutes every night. And again, it's a problem, but it's not a bad problem to have. Two players that have very similar skill sets. I mean, they both are in the top 10 for rim protection, both in the top 10 for blocks on 2K. They both bring similar skill sets, but they both have different skills as well. We all know that Dereck Lively is a great defender. He overnight feels like he became a phenomenal perimeter defender, something that Daniel Gafford does struggle with, but one thing that Daniel Gafford does very well is on the offensive end. His efficiency at the rim is unparalleled, and some people only look at him as a backup center, but when you look at both Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively, they both have the potential to be a serviceable starting center in this league, as well as a phenomenal backup. And that's why a lot of fans feel like it really doesn't matter, but down the road it will matter, because Dereck Lively, as he is growing and developing, he will be looking for a pretty big bag. He will want to get paid, he will want a bigger role. Daniel Gafford, who we did see get a very team-friendly contract extension over the summer, will also continue to want to have a role within the Dallas Mavericks organization and doesn't want to be relegated to the end of the bench as just a backup center. But if we take a look right here, Obviously, from this, Daniel Gafford played almost twice as many games as Dereck Lively, so the comparison of their raw numbers, it really doesn't do them either of them any justice. But you got Daniel Gafford, who averaged 12.3 points last season, compared to Dereck Lively's 8.7. Like I said, Dereck Lively is more of a defensive center. Daniel Gafford is great on the offensive end. They both have strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to rebounding, it's fairly close. You got Daniel Gafford at 6.8, Dereck Lively at 7.5. Their assist numbers is where things do get a little bit different amongst the two bigs. You have Daniel Gafford at 1.4 assists per game, but you have you have Daniel Gafford at 1.4 assists per game, but you have Dereck Lively at 2.4 assists per game. One thing that a lot of people were letting me know earlier today, that Dereck Lively's ability to pass the ball, his passing vision first of all, the DHO at the top of the key, the way that he can get other guys involved while he's also getting involved is what we're going to need. And without Kyrie Irving for the majority of the season, I understand the need for creation. We need players that can create. Not saying we're going to see point Dereck Lively anytime soon, but a big man that can average close to 3 assists a game is not a bad thing at all, especially when we know that Cooper Flag will also be running the point in some degree. We got D'Angelo Russell, and obviously with Klay Thompson, we need to have guys that can really get Klay his shots to make him the most efficient version of himself. If we just continue to look at the stats, steals per game, roughly the same, 0.4 to 0.6. Blocks, you got 1.8 with Daniel Gafford, 1.6 with Dereck Lively. That's very similar. They literally both shoot the same percentage from the floor at 70.2%. Their free throws, they're both not the best in the league. Daniel Gafford at 68.9% and Dereck Lively at 63%. Efficiency, again, very much the same, 70.2%. And there you go. So off of this, one may think, oh, of course, Daniel Gafford, that should be my starting center. You got Dereck Lively, who's still young, somewhat injury prone. He can come off the bench. And in my personal opinion, that's kind of where I'm standing. I think Daniel Gafford has earned that starting center position. Dereck Lively, in some ways, can be a better option than Daniel Gafford. I understand that. I'm not saying he needs to sit at the bench because he's bad. But one of the things that we cannot ignore is his availability. Over the last 2 seasons, Dereck Lively hasn't been able to stay relatively healthy long enough so where we can truly see what he can be. If we take a look right here, I had to go break it down before this video. For last season, Daniel Gafford played 57 games and he started 31 of them. Lively played 36 games and started 29 of them. If Lively's health holds, he's obviously our starter, but it's good that we have 2 centers who can be starters or the best backups. This is very important because even when both Lively and Gafford are both available to play, Lively is starting more times than not. There was only 7 games where Dereck Lively didn't start in favor of Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford, I would argue, the majority of his starts came when Lively was injured. And other people did point out, the start of the season last year, we were losing games with Gafford as our starter. When we switched to Lively, things changed. I always looked at him as 1A, 1B. You really do get the same results. It just depends on matchups. It depends on the situation, who's going to close games, who's going to be around that second and third quarter where things are starting to swing in our favor. Who do you put out on the floor? One of the things that Lively does struggle with, though, is foul trouble. That is something that he's going to have to work out of as he's now going to his 3rd year. He's not a rookie anymore, but I truly do believe that Dereck Lively has the makings of being one of the best centers in the league. He's a sponge. He learns and grows and gets better every single season, where Daniel Gafford is more solidified. He knows who he is. He knows what he can be. There is no real trying to develop anything more out of him other than just tweaking some of the small things. But if we take a look at this, we got a few more things that we want to look at. Rim defensive field goal percentage plus rim defensive field goal attempts plus rim defensive field goal percentage. At the top there, you got Daniel Gafford. So you can't deny that Daniel Gafford is one of the league's best rim defenders, and he's not even 7 feet tall. He's about 6'10", 6'11". I guess you could say he's 7 feet, but he's listed 6'10". Daniel Gafford is an amazing rim protector, and we cannot take that for granted. If we take a look right here, Daniel Gafford averaged 12.2 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks in 35 games for the Mavericks without Luka Doncic that season. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, and I couldn't really find anything on Dereck Lively, however, one of the things that I saw a lot of people mention post the Luka trade is that Gafford and Lively are going to be inefficient, that they can't do anything without Luka. Unless you got a perennial superstar point guard that can really unlock the most out of these players like Luka, then Lively and Gafford will be extremely inefficient. There'll be nobodies or going to look like Boban out there before, well, I guess after the Mavericks, they'll look like Boban, but that's not the case at all. Plus, I love Boban. There's no disrespect. But Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively don't necessarily need a legendary point guard or a perennial all-star. It definitely helps, But they showed you that, okay, there's no Luka, but we still had Kyrie. We had Spencer when Kyrie went down. There were other players who did step up, and both Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively were still able to flourish, and I'd argue that next season that should still hold true. Another thing that we want to take a look at right here is Dereck Lively, who is an amazing defender. His shot quality is amazing. His true shooting, superb. He knows his role and he plays it well. One of the things that I've mentioned on this channel is that Dereck Lively does play a little bit clunky alongside Anthony Davis, as AD is a 5 who wants to play the 4, and Dereck Lively is a 5 who only really knows how to play a 5. So whenever they're both on the floor and AD sometimes floats into that center role, Dereck Lively doesn't necessarily know where to go. His spacing and just where he is on the court gets a little bit confused. So I've obviously said many times on the channel that maybe Dereck Lively should be a stretch big. Maybe he should extend his range to the mid-range and maybe the three-point line. Without Kyrie Irving, we are missing about 7 to 8 threes per game. Why not let Dereck Lively take 2 or 3 a game just to space the floor, create some new offense for this team? But regardless, even without that, Dereck Lively has a lot of good positives that he brings to the team. Obviously, from this graphic, it shows you whatever he's good at, he is great at. And the last thing we're going to take a look at right here. Oh, nope, that was it. That was everything. So, you guys let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think that Daniel Gafford or Dereck Lively should be the starters? Which one are you feeling? Me, I understand that Dereck Lively might be the better option, but until he can show that he can stay healthy long enough to have an impact, I think it should be Daniel Gafford. He's obviously showed that he can step up when we need him. Of course, he did get hurt. You could argue it's because we were just all getting hurt. But I do think Daniel Gafford should continue to be the starter until Dereck Lively's ready. Not just skill set, but his body and health needs to also catch up. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We can have a conversation about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for being part of the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. And as always, y'all take care. Drink water. Peace.